Good afternoon, everybody. This is Scott Webb, and I am with East Coast Sports Investments with Jeff Dawson. And evidently, my partner in crime is not feeling well today, so we're going to try to do something a little more solo and get some plays out for you guys this afternoon. This is obviously an NFL week. This is week number 12, and there's playoff implications today. And number one. We got Minnesota that plays at San Francisco today, and Minnesota is a 6th seed right now. San Francisco is a 7th seed in the playoffs. With a win, that moves Minnesota to 6-5. A loss moves them to 5-6, and it's the same for San Francisco. So if they win, they go to 6-5. They lose, they go to 5-6. So the winner of this game is obviously securing their position a little bit stronger. The loser likely is dropping out of the playoff hunt after this week. That doesn't mean that they can't get back in it. It just means that after today, there's a big separation there. The other games that are of interest in terms of playoff implications is Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Pittsburgh right now is listed as the first team out of the playoffs. And with a win, they'll be 6-4 and 1 tie. With a loss, they'll be 5-5 with 1 loss. Cincinnati is listed as the 6th seed in the AFC, and they are, with a win, will go to 7-4. With a loss, they'll go to 6-5. Also in consideration here is the Indianapolis game. Tampa Bay is at Indianapolis. This is a big implication for Indianapolis. They're listed as the second team out of the playoffs in the AFC currently. If they win today, they'll go to 7-5. With a loss, they go to 6-6. And then the Cleveland Browns in the Baltimore Ravens game. The Browns are listed as the 4th team out of the AFC playoffs. With a win, they'll go to 7-5. To a loss, they go to 6-6. So those are some pretty good ones. Another one is the Chargers and the Broncos. The Broncos are the 5th team out. With a win, they get to 6-5. A loss gives them 5-6. And with the Chargers, they are the 7th seed, making the playoffs currently, and they are at 7-4 with a win. A loss makes them 6-5. Here's an interesting one, and I think one that we need to keep an eye on, and maybe a good futures play. The Philadelphia Eagles are playing the New York Giants today, and they're listed as the first team out of the playoffs. And a win gets them 6-6. A loss makes them 5-7. Now, I played this out on a pretty cool little calculator that ESPN has, and I think Philadelphia actually gets in the playoffs, and they're like the 7th seed, the last team in. And if that's the case, you can probably get some pretty good odds on them making playoffs, which is a pretty nice little run for Philadelphia. And Carolina and Miami has a little bit of implications here. That's Carolina. They're the 2nd team listed out. A win gets them 6-6. A loss gets them to 5-7. So in terms of playoff implications, there's 7 games today. So this NFL day is going to be really important. Now, going to the plays that I made today and some of the stuff that I looked at, I played the Tampa Bay-Indianapolis game. I played Tampa Bay -3. I know there's a lot of people out there like the Indianapolis side. But the reason I played this game is the strength of Indianapolis is their running game. But Tampa Bay all but takes that away on their defensive side. So the way that works out is with the Indianapolis side, they are strength on running, depending on what metric you look at. EPA, they're not that great. They're 24th. But success rate, they rank 8th, and that's pretty good. And DVOA, they rank 12th. But they're going to match up to this defense, right? So the defense for Tampa Bay, on EPA, they rank 4th on defense against the run. Success rate, number 2 against the run. And DVOA, they rank number 4th against the run. So in a lot of ways, that's like banging your head against the wall. And then that makes it so that they're going to have to pass. And if Indianapolis has to pass, their EPA number is 29th. Now remember, there's 32 teams in the NFL. So 29 out of 32 is not very damn good. So then their success rate is even worse. They're 31st in success rate on the pass. DVOA likes them a little better at 16th. So again, that matchup does not look good for them against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then you got to look at it from the perspective of what can Tampa Bay's offense do? Well, they're number 3 running the football. They're number 4 passing the football. So I like the idea here that Tampa Bay is going to be able to sort of dictate the game a little bit that way. Indianapolis is also off a big win. They just beat Buffalo 41-15. So that's sort of a spot here where that I like to play against teams, especially when what have you done for me lately, and the people out there go, oh my God, Indianapolis has it figured out. So then you have to look at it from another perspective, right? So Tom Brady is the number 7 ranked EPA quarterback, and his QBR number is 3rd. Carson Wentz is the 20th ranked EPA quarterback, a little better on the QBR side, is 12th. So now you're looking at an advantage again with the quarterbacks, and I'm not so sure that the coaching matchup here isn't necessarily something that is good for Tampa Bay either. I think Frank Reich's a great coach, but I think he's also in a position here where this is a big game. They just were off a big game against Buffalo, so now they got to play another one. And both teams play some scrubs next week, so this is a game that they're both focusing on. So I went ahead and I played Tampa Bay in this game. I played a -3. And the big reason here, again, is the matchups don't really favor Indianapolis in this spot very well at all. Situationally, it's not good. And the way the matchups work, it's not good. Now, the next game that I played, this is Green Bay and the Los Angeles Rams. I took the Green Bay Packers at +2. The weather in this game is also something to keep in mind. Now it's 34 degrees and it's winds. That's where you really want to concentrate on here. But the winds are 15 miles an hour. So at start, I wanted to look at the quarterbacks here, and this is Aaron Rodgers. He ranks number 2 against on EPA, and Matthew Stafford ranks number 6. And in QBR, Rodgers ranks 4th, and Stafford ranks 1st. So we got 2 really good quarterbacks. Now, having said that, we got to look at this a little bit deeper. So I went back, and since week 8, so we're in week 12, so the last 4 games or so, Matthew Stafford ranks 39th in EPA. He is 24th ranked their team in offense, and their defense ranks 13th. So the Rams have not been playing their best football. And ESPN's Diana Rossini says that Stafford's been dealing with a sore ankle. He's got pain in his throwing shoulder, his elbow and his arm. And he's got chronic back pain. And now playing in this cold weather with those winds, that's probably not going to be very helpful. But the other thing that I noticed here, and the reason that this is kind of a detriment here for the Rams right now, is in the last 2 games, they played San Francisco and they played Tennessee. 2 teams that are a little bit better than what they've been playing, and they got smoked. They scored 10 points against San Francisco, lost 10-31, and they got 16 points against the Tennessee Titans. And remember, that was the first game without Derrick Henry, and everybody was all over the Rams in that one. And it was 16-28. And prior to that, they had just beat Houston, Detroit, the New York Giants, and the Seattle Seahawks. So everybody, that was like 4 in a row. Everybody was all over them thinking how good they were. But think about who they beat. Again, they beat the Houston Texans, who I think won 1 or 2 games. They beat Detroit, who hasn't won a game. They beat the Giants, who look like they shouldn't have won any games. And they beat Seattle, who's only won 3 games. So they beat the lowest ends of all the NFL teams. And then prior to that, the only other victory, shouldn't say not only other, another game that they won was against the Bears. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their 7 wins have been against teams that are very, very bad in the NFL. They did beat the Colts and they did beat the Buccaneers, and that was in the week 2 and week 3 of the season. But they haven't played and won games against big-time teams since then. They've lost to the Titans. They lost to the 49ers. They lost to the Cardinals, the teams that are actually pretty good in the NFL. So the teams that they beat, I wouldn't say are upper echelon in any stretch. They're the lowest end of all the football. And where this game kind of looks good to me is on the EPA side. Green Bay's offense, they rank 9th running and 3rd passing. And the Los Angeles Rams defense ranks 20th against the run and 11th against the pass. that's a clear path for avenue for success for Green Bay here. And we're taking Green Bay at home in a game where it's outside, the weather's going to be bad, and it's not necessarily going to be conducive to an indoor team, especially one that comes from California. DVOA likes it too. I mean, they've got Green Bay run offense at number 5, passing offense is number 1 against the Rams defense that's number 7 against the run and number 10 against the pass. So again, even though those numbers are pretty good for the Rams in that spot, they don't match up to what Green Bay can offer. So I do like the idea here that you can get the Green Bay Packers at home +2 today. And then the last one that I played was the Chargers and the Broncos game. This is a AFC West matchup. And I went ahead and played the Chargers -2.5. Again, there's no weather implications here. Even if it's in Denver, it's 65 degrees, only 5 miles an hour wind. And Denver's got a defensive end, Shelby Harris, who's actually played pretty well. His grade rating is a 79, and that's out of 100. But most all-pro guys are in the 90s, so 79 is pretty good. And he's not going to be playing today. His substitute's a 67, 68 number. So that's a pretty significant drop-off. And another one that's a big drop-off is Kareem Jackson from Denver. He's a safety. He ranks, his player grade is an 86. He's not going to play today either. And he is, his substitute's a 67 or 70, depending on who they play. So I like the idea here that the defense for Denver is a little bit banged up. And then you got to look at it from another level, right? So we looked at the quarterbacks in every one of these so far. And here you have Teddy Bridgewater against Justin Herbert. And what's interesting is how this breaks down. So the QBR rating is number 2 for Herbert and number 22 for Bridgewater. And then EPA, you can look at it a couple ways. One of the ways I've been looking at it and putting it out here doesn't really work for this game. Works for most of the other games, but not this one. I use a combined number of EPA plus CPOE. And if you do that, Herbert ranks 16th and Bridgewater ranks 3rd. But that's because of the number of games that Bridgewater has played versus what Herbert has, and then Herbert's CPOE is not that great. So that's completion percentage over expected, by the way. And if you just look at total EPA, so extra points added, this kind of then makes it more relevant. And it takes into account that Bridgewater hasn't played all the games. So Bridgewater ranks 19th, and Justin Herbert is number 1 in the NFL. So it's always a good idea to back and support the number 1 quarterback in the NFL to EPA. EPA is extremely important because it's one of the numbers that these lines that Vegas puts out does not account for. So it's I don't want to call it free money, because it's not. Nothing's ever free. But at the same time, this is something that is not calculated in there, and it's not something that you can just go out and look and say, okay, who's got the most passing yards, or who completes the most passes, or who has most yards per attempt, and all that stuff. It's a great number. So because when we're grading these games as handicappers, and we're looking for the ideas of being able to bet in the right direction, you want to bet on who's going to win the games. And if you can figure out what quarterbacks are going to give you extra points added over an average quarterback, that's like exactly what we're looking for. That's a great number. And supporting and backing the number 1 quarterback in the NFL in that data statistic is a very good thing. And that's where Justin Herbert is. So then the big thing here is when you play the Chargers, and this is pretty common knowledge, I think. And if it's not, then this is something that you should probably put in your data bank and sort of remember. The Chargers are 33-16-3 on the road. That's their last 52 games, and that's against the spread. And in their last 5 games as an away favorite, which doesn't mean much, but they're 4-1 as an away favorite. So this is a team you want to play on the road, and you want to play against at home. And here we find them on the road today as a small favorite. I got them at -2.5, and that's what I like that number. And the big reason here is there's two of them. One is the offensive line mismatch. So the Los Angeles Chargers have a ranking of 13th on Football Outsiders offensive line overall rank, run, pass, whatever. And the Denver Broncos have a defensive line rank of 25. Now remember, there's 32 teams, so that puts the Chargers in the top half, and that puts the Broncos in the almost bottom third. So that means you got a pretty big edge there on the offensive side for the Chargers. And then when you think about what has beaten the Chargers, it's been teams that can run the football. So they're in a situation where the EPA says they are the worst defense in all of football. They rank 32nd against the run. So now you want to match them up against teams that can run the football, and then you got a problem. But that's not the case for Denver. So Denver can't take away or take advantage of any of the advantages that the Chargers defense allows them. So they have a weakness running the football. They rank 23rd. So when it comes to rushing, Denver's not that good, and of course the Chargers aren't that good at stopping the run. So you got weakness on weakness there. But when it comes to the Chargers offense, they rank 6th rushing and 10th passing, and the Denver Broncos defense ranks 22nd against the run and 10th against the pass. So there's a lot of things here that show some significant areas of success for what the Chargers can do. DVOA even thinks it's even a bigger margin. They think that the number 7 passing attack of the Chargers is going to face the number 17 pass defense of Denver. So that sets up a situation here where the Chargers should be able to move the ball. And then the other game that I was thinking about that I did not play is a similar situation, and I wanted to hit this real quick just so that I had it out there. Was the San Francisco 49ers today against Minnesota. I like San Francisco today. I like them to win the game. I like them to cover the spread. However, just like we just talked about with the Chargers, there's kind of a couple rules to follow here. One, we said you don't bet on the Chargers when they're at home. And secondarily to that, the 49ers, you don't bet on when they're at home. It's the same problem. So the 49ers are 16 wins, 35 losses, and 1 against the spread as a home favorite. And in their last 13 tries as a favorite at all, they are 3-10. So this is just a team that is struggling to find a way to make this thing work. And I think they're starting to find the correct way. Garoppolo's playing better. The defense is getting healthier. And you've got a big offensive line or a big defensive line edge here in San Francisco. Minnesota's offensive line ranks 25th according to Football Outsiders, and San Francisco's defensive line ranks 4th. So there's a lot of things here that suggest that San Francisco is the right side, although history and past performance leads for it not to. So again, just trying to get some stuff out, get some plays in there, let people see what we're doing and what I was doing today. And if you follow those games, good luck. And like Jeff always says, if you have a problem or if you need help with gambling, make sure you stay in your lane. Don't overextend yourself. And if you need help, there are numbers you can contact. Please do that. We want you to not only be with us again tomorrow and the next day, but we want you to be with us again for the year of 2022. And to Mr. Dawson himself, I hope that you are feeling much better and that you can get healthy, sir. We need you. Talk to you later.